Hey, Miracle Keach. I'm here with Anouche Babayan, and she is an amazing, amazing client member of Julian Turner. And she's worked with her at the time we're talking. She had worked with her for about 5 years, and she's seen some really incredible results with her business and also personally. She's here to talk about her experience in working with Julian and how everything has worked for her. So, Anouche, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on and speak with me. So, thank you.
With great pleasure.
Okay, so I'm curious, and I know other people watching this are going to be really curious. Just fill us in with the backstory. Kind of what were you going through? What was the big thing that you were trying to do that ended up leading you to work with Julianne?
Um, I had a financial issue, especially my goal was to become financially independent, which I had never been before. And and when I saw a webinar entitled "How to get to the next level in your life and in your business," I thought that's it. And so that was Julianne presenting
Hmm.
um, her how she could help people through a webinar.
Okay, and for people who are watching, I guess can you just briefly explain what it is the business that you do, so we kind of have an idea of what you were trying to get some help with?
Yes, I help clients, corporate clients, and their staff with confidence when they're working internationally, i.e., in France. It's mostly in English. So, understanding, being able to express themselves, to convince, making presentations at the highest level, becoming articulate, and through tailor made training programs.
Okay, and so you were having, you said, some financial issues. You saw the webinar. There was something about it that drew you in. You go in and you start working with Julianne. What was that
Yes.
experience like?
Um, I'll say first it was very fast. So very quickly we got to the key subject, the core of the subject, which of course I didn't realize it was the core of the subject. And like 6 weeks down the line, I signed my first, let's say, big contract with a CEO, which I'd never done before.
So that's a big deal in a short period of time, right? You're
Mm,
going from, okay, I'm having this struggle here, and then within 6 weeks of working with her, you got this big contract. What what was it that initially, like you saw the webinar and then you ended up working with this, but what
mm.
was it initially that drew you to Julianne?
Um, Her arcs of creation, her arcs of genius that she actually showed on the webinar. And I guess it was a very concrete way of showing how she does it and using examples of famous people who'd been through a struggle and how they got out of it and how they managed um, to make their vision incarnate.
And so was that really kind of what the big struggle was for you? Like you talked about initially, you felt it was a financial thing, but it sounds like you had the stuff, but you weren't exactly sure where to go or what to do with it or figure out exactly, as you said, what your genius is.
I didn't know I had a genius. That's at all. Um, I I knew I had a vision of what I wanted, and you're right. Um, I didn't know where to go next. I didn't know where to put my next footstep. No, how do you say my next? I don't know. I didn't know what my next step was, and funnily enough, I had this belief that I, on my own, would be unable to move forwards in the right way, in the way that I wanted, because somehow intuitively I must have known that it was a lot to do with belief, and so that I needed someone else to guide me. And in fact, I looked for a guide for 6 months. I'd like sent out into the universe this message that I needed a guide to help me. And Julianne arrived 6 months later.
And so,
through yeah, through a webinar, and I never take part in webinars.
so
So
something out there said, okay, this is what we're going to throw in your direction, and this is exactly
mm,
what you needed.
and then she was offering a free session
Mm,
after the webinar, and of
okay.
course I jumped on
Yeah.
the opportunity.
And so it sounds like she was able to, at this point, then really show you, you said like you had a vision, but, and correct me if I'm wrong, then shape that vision, but then also shape you as well so you can change those beliefs so that you can follow and get on the right path for that vision.
She helped me to see that what I was doing for my clients was special and had immense value for them. And
And,
so that, yeah, so that I could charge more. In fact, that was the thing. And that to charge more, I needed to package it in a way that they could see the value. I mean, that was key. No one had ever said that to me before. And when I pass that on to the people that I guide, they look at me like that. They're amazed as
yeah.
well. So that is beautiful.
So she helped in that and seeing that, but also probably helping see the value in yourself so that you could be aware of that and see the value in actually everything that you're doing.
Mm, yes, yes,
Okay.
definitely.
And so once you started to realize this and you had like that, she helped you with this like aha moment and realize all these things. You talked about you got that client, right? 6 weeks later. What did this start doing
Yes.
for the business? What did you start seeing in benefits and results from this?
Um, that's a good question. I think that bizarrely, the real results probably came several years later, i.e., quite recently. But maybe that's my perception that I'm really feeling that we're getting strong. We're really building as a company. Um, I'm tempted to say a higher turnover, but it bizarrely it didn't show immediately because I think that in a business there are so many parameters, in fact, that perhaps we were making more money, we were signing bigger contracts, but on the other hand we're spending more money on other things. So I guess that we don't quite realize perhaps that all the things we've been able to do thanks to that.
So in terms of the growth, it took a little while. Like you see what you're after you put all the foundations in, you're seeing all that now.
Mm,
But she
yes,
probably helped. You talked about right the value in that. Did she help repackage or structure things so that you can
definitely,
leverage that type of
definitely.
value?
Yes, definitely. And the pricing and the packaging of what we do was the first point, and then we worked a lot on my relationship with my business partner, and that could have killed us. Not the relationship was rocky at least twice, but we had two crises, and we could have just quit. Our partnership. I could have left the company, and because we worked through, Julianne helped me to work through the crisis by keeping the dialogue open, by also by asserting myself vis-a-vis my business partner. That was a great point as well.
Mm.
um, we were able to come out. Well, I was able to come out the other side strengthened, and this year really we've for example received managed to secure a quality certification that's recognized in our country on training,
Mm.
and a lot of other things, a lot of other benefits.
So you went into this for the one thing that you had, like the financial struggle, but in the end, it brought all these other elements to the surface that you ended up having to work with and actually helping you personally and the business.
Yes, and I might add for the people watching and listening that what I asked Julian to do for me and with me at the beginning was to help me get financially independent. And that happened, um, let's say, 18 months down the line. I didn't, again, we don't always realize we're doing things, but
Yeah.
that actually incarnated 18 months later. So,
Yeah.
and the interesting thing is that I continued to work with Julianne, even though I'd achieved my objective.
That's a big
See?
deal. That's a big deal. Like, everything works in its own time, but you had to probably go through the process of unlayering certain things personally before you could start getting
Mm.
other elements of the business where it needs to be.
Well, it's especially that I felt that I had so much more to progress, so many more areas that I needed to progress in, that I thought, well, Julianne's the person who can continue helping me.
And so, what are some of those things that she's helped you progress? And obviously, on the business side, it's helped the expansion over years. What else did you notice personally as you continued to work with her because you'd been with her for a long time?
Mm. Um, I would say the big chapter of relationships, because these last 4 or 5 years, well, it coincides with my work with Julianne. Uh, I've really been through um, some could have been very, very tough times. Thanks to the way that I approached it, and thanks to Julianne's guidance, um, I was able to really weather the storm every time and surf the wave, and really go with it, and um, avoid any drama, and um, all the while learning about me, learning about the power that we each have to make the right choices at
Yeah.
every second, microsecond of our
Right.
lives.
And so, would you say that in a way that you're kind of living your genius now, like living your life and living that value that you've gotten through the program and working with her?
Yes, definitely.
Would you go as far as to say that it's been life changing in working with her?
Yes, transformational, as I like to use that for what I do for people. um,
Yeah.
and the beauty of it is that, because we could think that transformational makes you lose your identity, but what's interesting is it's transformational, and it's also gets back linked into who you really are fundamentally,
Yeah.
and that is beautiful. That's real power.
Yeah. And in learning that, that's probably one of the key things that helped elevate you personally and then help grow the business and get through some of the things with
Mm,
partners and understanding that.
yes.
Okay. And then so would you say now, because you've been for a while, would you say things flow a little bit easier within the business, within your life now that you understand a lot of this and gone through this process?
Yes, definitely. And my relationship with my business partner has never been as wonderful and as fluid as now. And I think that with the difficulties of business, you learn also, at the same time, to assert yourself, and at the same time to notice when it's your ego playing up, to get that balance between the power of your genius and the irritation of your ego, and
Yeah.
choosing the first path always.
And so now that you've got all these pieces in place, you've got business partnerships, personally things are flowing. Would you say that working with Julianne has been probably one of the best decisions you've made?
Yes, definitely one of the best. Yes.
Okay. All right. And now that you've gotten to this, how does all of this make you feel knowing that things flow easier, that these things are just moving in the way that they're moving?
How does it make me feel?
Yeah.
Well, powerful, uh, joyful, and grateful.
Okay. Okay. And then what I don't want to do is I want to shift gears just quick because we just got another minute. I want to talk to you about Julianne. Since you've
Yes.
been working with her for so long, that's you kind of develop a friendship, a relationship. You get to know the person. So a lot of times when you have
Mm.
someone who can help you business or coach personally, that's what they are. They're a business coach. But I'm curious to know about the person. So tell me or give me a few words or phrases that maybe describe the type of person that she is.
Well, the first two words is I'm thinking of is caring, and with a wonderful sense of humor. So it was always very joyful, um, and yeah, very caring. She's always concerned, truly, deeply concerned about
Yeah.
your well-being.
So it sounds like she wants you to achieve your goals, not just because it's a business thing, but because that she really wants the best for you.
Mm. Well, I think I recognize myself in her in the way that when you have a very clear vision of who you are, um, you want everyone to have a clear vision of who they are, and you want to be able to help them to see who they are.
And you see that within her. Now, let's say, well, would you say that's one of the things that makes her very different than maybe some of the other people out there that try to do similar things or coaching or along those things?
Um, I think that the extra dimension that Julianne has is this very high vision, this very high level at which she connects with people. Um, I don't want to say spiritual, even though I've said it, but because that really doesn't mean much anymore. But especially in France, we're very rational people, and religion and anything spiritual or that's not within the limits of the human body uh, is, well, that's not frontal lobe cortex. It's sort of taboo. You don't want to talk about the senses or intuition too much, or at least you can talk about it, but
Mm-hmm.
it won't, it's not seen as something that can help you make big career decisions, for example.
Right.
So when you work with a coach in France, you feel a little bit limited. With Julianne, what I felt is that you're connected with the infinite, and not just spiritually, but just because she believes that we are unlimited beings.
Yeah. Okay. And then I have just two more questions. I guess
Yes.
if someone is thinking about working with her, let's say they're in the same position where you were at 5 years ago,
Yes.
and they're putting out they need this help, but they're kind of on the fence. They're not 100% sure, like they're 50-50. What would you want to tell that person maybe to push them off the fence?
um, that there are lots of things that they don't know about themselves and that they would be probably incapable of knowing, and they need a guide.
And you would recommend Julianne to be that guide.
Yes, I have recommended. It never worked out, but I
Mm-hmm.
have recommended her because they
Okay.
weren't ready, I guess, to jump in.
Right. All right. So you just say, hey, listen, go ahead, jump in, give her a try, and see how it goes.
Yes.
Okay. The last question I have, since you've worked with her for so long, you have this relationship, you understand who she is at a deeper level. And let's say that she turns off her phone or email, text, Facebook right now, basically shuts everything down. And this is the last time that you could ever speak with her. Knowing it's the last time, what would you want to say?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she would understand. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think it's been pretty amazing that not only in the amount of time that you spent working with her, that says a lot, but it's amazing to see that you found this genius about yourself. You found this
Mm.
flow. You understand a lot of these processes. And I just really appreciate you taking the time to come on here, share your experience, your story. And I want to wish you continued success in the future.
Thank you, Eric.
All right, you take care,
With great
Anouche.
pleasure.
Yep.
Thank you. You too.